I'm Sabrina Zainal, and you're tuning into Nightline, the top stories. MOH to announce a framework enabling certain cannabidiol products to be registered by 2023. And employers can start hiring Bangladeshi workers. Good morning. We begin with this story. The Health Ministry will soon announce a framework enabling certain cannabidiol or CBD products to be registered by next year. Its Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the framework would be released sometime this year, adding that his ministry would be inviting proposal submissions of CBD products that should be registered. Khairi said the CBD products should not be for self-medicating purposes, stressing that it would not be available over the counter and could only be prescribed by a healthcare professional. He added training and education of medical officers would be required to ensure they understood the circumstances which allowed the prescription of CBD products. The National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency, NPRA, would also study the proposals on the products, including evaluating its authenticity, as well as the data on its safety and efficacy of the products for certain illnesses. Khairi stressed that it was important for his ministry to undertake a cautious approach and look into international practices and scientific data on the use of CBD products. This framework, however, would not include the cultivation of cannabis. The CBD products that would be registered must also undergo human trials and clinical tests, which would be conducted by local universities. The ministry was also in discussion with several researchers, including from the University Malaya, to conduct more studies and clinical tests on the use of CBD for certain medical conditions, which could widen the use of CBD products. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob has announced an allocation of almost 65 million ringgit for the implementation of 5 initiatives to help the Federal Land Development Authority, or FELDA, settlers and its new generation in various aspects, including housing. The initiatives include a fund of 20 million ringgit under the Housing Credit Guarantee Scheme as the collateral for housing loans to be made by the new generation of FELDA settlers so that they need not have to offer other collateral for a loan, thus facilitating the financing process for house construction in FELDA generation lots. Speaking when officiating the FELDA Settlers Day 2022 celebration at FELDA Rentam in Bura Pahang on Thursday, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said FELDA had also allocated a revolving fund of 10 million ringgit to provide more opportunities to start a business or increase the capacity of the business to entrepreneurs among the younger generation of FELDA, involving interest-free loans of between 5,000 ringgit to 20,000 ringgit with applications to open in August. He said in a bid to provide necessary facilities for the new generation of FELDA to reside in its areas, FELDA had previously implemented the FELDA New Generation Project, or PGBF. The Prime Minister added that the 7.6 million ringgit in monthly rent already paid by 2025 PGBF occupants, as well as rent to be collected after this, will be counted as their deposit when they buy a PGBF house.
Bayaran sewa. Sebagai contoh ya, bayaran sewa selama 36 bulan berjumlah RM10,800. Kalau dah dikutip bayaran sewa RM10,800, ianya akan dijadikan sebagai deposit, lantas mengurangkan pembiayaan satu unit rumah tengah yang berharga RM90,000 kepada RM79,200 sahaja.
The FELDA Settlers Day 2022 celebration themed Kejayaan Dalam Keberkatan was also attended by Minister and the Prime Minister's Department for Economy, Datuk Seri Mustafa Muhammad, FELDA Chairman Tan Sri Idris Jusoh, Pahang Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Wan Rosdi Wan Ismail, and National FELDA Settlers Chief Jamil Muhammad Sharif. Meanwhile, to help FELDA rubber plantation settlers, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said FELDA would allocate 6.1 million ringgit in management fund for 2022 to take over the management of the rubber collection centres from FGV Rubber Industries, Sendirian Berhad.
Felda dan FGV Rubber Industries telah mencapai persetujuan untuk mengurangkan kos operasi kilang sebanyak 23 sen bagi setiap kilogram getah kering dengan tambahan lagi sebanyak 5 sen apabila mencapai sasaran bulanan. Keseluruhan pengurangan sebanyak 28 sen ini akan memberikan tambahan pendapatan 111.2 juta ringgit bagi 10,707 peneroka tanaman getah.
In conjunction with the 66th anniversary of Felda's establishment this year, the Prime Minister also announced a special development allocation of 66,000 ringgit to every 317 Felda settlement areas, making a total of 21 million ringgit that can be used to repair or upgrade infrastructure on the land involved. At the event, Felda Jengke 25 in Pahang was named the recipient of the Felda Excellence Award 2022, which allows them to receive 1 million ringgit in cash, while 5 individuals were named the recipients of the Tokoh Generasi 2021 award, including Deputy Finance Minister Datuk Muhammad Shahar Abdullah, who hails from Felda Wilayah Kuantan. The launch of Huawei Rural Star, the latest telecommunication technology network infrastructure device, is very important in facilitating connectivity to hard-to-reach communities. Speaking at another function, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said the Rural Star solution, which was developed by Huawei Malaysia, is able to connect areas that are not only remote but also have no or very little communication infrastructures.
Kerajaan sentiasa berusaha membawa arus kemajuan ini ke semua peringkat masyarakat bersesuaian dengan prinsip keluarga Malaysia agar tiada siapa pun tertinggal daripada menikmati peluang kemakmuran bersama yang lebih inklusif dan saksama. Keluarga Malaysia yang saya kasihi sekalian, dalam mencapai pertumbuhan ekonomi yang semakin pesat, kerajaan tetap fokus kepada matlamat utamanya, iaitu untuk merapatkan jurang digital.
He said this when launching Huawei Rural Star Pro and presenting Huawei MatePad to students in Beira. Also present were Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission MCMC Interim Chairman Tan Sri Muhammad Salim Fateh, Huawei Malaysia CEO Michael Yuan, and Celcom Axiata Berhad CEO Dato' Idham Nawawi. Citing the recent launch of the Miasat 3D satellite, the Prime Minister also expressed hope that internet access in urban and rural areas will be further improved. He added the implementation of the National Digital Network Plan, or JENDELA, would offer 100% 4G coverage in populated areas and a wider 5G coverage and fixed broadband services to 9 million premises in the country by 2025. At a separate event, the Prime Minister revealed that the government has added 11 more building materials in the implementation of the Variation of Prices VOP clause to help face the rising prices of building materials. He said that there were now 15 items in the VOP, including cement, bricks, glass, and ceiling and roof materials.
Saya difahamkan harga barangan binaan termasuk besi yang merupakan antara bahan penting dalam pelaksanaan apa jua projek meningkat sehingga 180%.
He said this to reporters when opening the Pahang Malay Contractors Association's 38th Annual General Meeting in Beira, Pahang on Thursday. The Prime Minister added the government was aware of the unavoidable hike in building material prices following global economic uncertainties and the Russia-Ukraine geopolitical conflict. Now, the recruitment process for Bangladeshi workers can now begin as the previous technical issues have been resolved. The Human Resources Ministry said the attestation process involving 15 companies and more than 2,000 Bangladeshi workers had been completed by the Bangladesh High Commission in Kuala Lumpur. In a statement on Thursday, the ministry said employers who had paid the levy and are planning to hire Bangladeshi workers can now submit their applications for confirmation of employment and work visa documentation to the Bangladesh High Commission in Kuala Lumpur. However, it pointed out that the entry of Bangladeshi workers was subject to safety and health screening, including compliance with the requirements of the Immigration Department. On December 19th last year, its Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan and his Bangladeshi counterpart, Expatriates Welfare and Overseas Employment Minister Imran Ahmed, signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU on the recruitment of Bangladeshi workers to work in Malaysia effective until December 2026. Datuk Sri Saravanan said the MOU outlined the responsibilities of both countries, including those relating to Malaysian employers and Bangladeshi workers, as well as the responsibilities of private employment agencies involved in the recruitment process in the two countries. Moving on, the country's fiscal position is still strong and the federal government's debt is still under control. The Finance Ministry, MOF, gave the assurance, denying allegations by some irresponsible and malicious parties that Malaysia would go bankrupt like a country in South Asia recently. Its Minister, Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul Abdul Aziz, in a statement on Thursday, said his ministry has lodged a formal complaint with the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, on several false reports on social media on the country's debt position. He added that the claims were aimed at misleading the people and potentially undermining investor confidence in Malaysia. He also said the government remains highly disciplined and has never failed to pay interest as well as mature debts, despite having gone through a series of economic and financial recession crises. As at end of June 2022, the country's statutory debt accounted for 60.4% of the gross domestic product GDP, which was still lower than the 65% limit set by the government. The minister also explained that 97% of the total federal government debt is in ringgit denomination, thus reflecting prudent debt management because exposure to foreign exchange risk is minimal. Datuk Sri Tengku Zafrul also pointed out that a high level of debt does not mean that the country is at risk of bankruptcy. The International Monetary Fund also acknowledged that Malaysia's debt position is still at a manageable level. The Johor Health Department on Thursday confirmed that all 14 casual contacts to a Malaysian in Singapore who was infected with monkeypox on July 6th have been confirmed free of the disease. State Health and Unity Committee Chairman Ling Tian Soon said all of them who were from Johor had been instructed to undergo self-quarantine at their respective homes for a week.
14 casual tu dia semua daripada Johor sini dan kita telah kena pasti dan mudah-mudahan semua tak ada apa-apa sehingga hari ini. Kerana kunjungan dia adalah awal bulan Julai dia ke Johor dan juga kita harapkan mereka jangan keluar ke mana-mana lah supaya kita dapat mengawasi keadaan mereka.
Ling spoke to the media after officiating the opening of the hemodialysis unit building at Sultanah Nora Ismail Hospital in Batu Pahat on Thursday. The state exco member added to date, no new monkeypox cases have been reported involving visitors from Singapore to Johor. However, he urged all hospitals in the state to be on alert and instructed to improve facilities as well as adopt the same procedures practiced during the COVID-19 pandemic. Indonesian ministers peddling free cooking oil for votes slammed. News from the foreign front right after this break. We're back with news from the foreign front. Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has emailed a letter of resignation to the Speaker of the country's parliament late on Thursday as public anger grows over the country's worst economic crisis in decades. It was reported that the email was received after the president reached Singapore, and it was not immediately clear if the letter would be accepted in email form. The Singapore Foreign Ministry, in the meantime, said the 73-year-old leader has not asked for asylum, and neither has he been granted any asylum, adding that Singapore generally does not grant requests for asylum. Previously, protesters overran Rajapaksa's palace at the weekend, forcing him to flee on Wednesday. Activists also stormed the office of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, demanding for his removal. However, anti-government demonstrators on Thursday said they were ending their occupation of official buildings as they vowed to press on with their bid to bring down the president and prime minister in the face of a dire economic crisis. Former British Finance Minister Rishi Sunak won the most votes in the second round of voting to succeed Boris Johnson as leader of the Conservative Party and Prime Minister, as one candidate was eliminated. Sunak came top with 101 votes, followed by Junior Trade Minister and bookmakers' favourite Penny Mordaunt on 83 votes and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss on 64 votes. Attorney General Suella Braverman was eliminated with 27 votes. Lawmaker Tom Tugendhat received 32 votes and Kemi Badenoch received 49. The field is expected to be narrowed to 2 by the end of next week, and around 160,000 Tory members will then decide which candidate they want to become the next party leader and prime minister. The result will be announced on September 5th.
Mordaunt, 67.
Newly minted Indonesian Trade Minister Zulkifli Hasan has drawn the ire of the people, including President Joko Widodo, or Jokowi, for giving away cooking oil to voters in return for their support for his daughter. In a video clip circulating on social media, Zulkifli is seen asking recipients of the 2-liter packages of cooking oil to vote for his daughter, Putri Zulia Safitri, in the 2024 legislative elections during an event hosted by National Mandate Party in Lampung Province, Sumatra on Saturday. The minister hinted that he would continue to hold similar charity programs to woo voter support for his daughter. Following the news, the Indonesian president gave Zulkifli a verbal warning, saying the trade minister should be concerned on how to push down the retail price of cooking oil instead. Jokowi added that he already made it clear when appointing Zulkifli as trade minister that controlling the price of cooking oil will be among his top priorities. In other news, a Virginia judge has rejected American actress Amber Heard's demand for a new trial in the defamation case that she lost to her former husband, Johnny Depp. Heard's lawyers had asked Judge Penny Azkarat to set aside the jury verdict awarding $10 million to Depp and declare a mistrial. It was said that Heard asked for a new trial because one of the 7 jurors was not the man summoned for jury service, but his son in a case of mistaken identity. The judge, however, has denied the request, saying that the juror met the statutory requirements for service. sports, football, the U.S. Major League Soccer. San Jose Earthquakes have won consecutive regular season matches at LA Galaxy for the first time in the club's history as they claimed a 3-2 victory over their rivals. Earthquakes took the lead after 11 minutes when Christian Espinoza converted a spot kick after Julian Araujo brought down Benji Kikanovic inside the penalty area. Jeremy Ebubisi then doubled the advantage 2 minutes later with a cool finish following a fine team move before Marcos Lopez rounded Galaxy's goalkeeper and scored from tight angle in the 39th minute, giving Earthquakes a comfortable 3-goal lead into the interval. Galaxy found their way back into the game in the second half as Dejan Jovalic smashed the ball home in the 47th minute to reduce the deficit before he grabbed his second of the game 3 minutes before time with a curling shot to make it 3-2. Galaxy then pushed hard until the dying minutes in search for an equalizer, but Earthquakes held on to the slimmest lead to claim a 3-2 victory. In another match, Hani Mukhtar struck his 11th goal of the season to hand Nashville SC a hard-fought 1-0 win over the Seattle Sounders. The only goal of the match came just before the break when CJ Sapong latched onto a long ball over the top and found Mukhtar in the center to score. Restricting Sounders to just 2 shots on goal, Nashville then put in an excellent defensive display to disappoint Sounders and claimed the 3 points. Still to come on Nightline, Customs foil smuggling attempt of ketamine worth over 13 million ringgit. Thanks for staying with us. The Selangor Customs Department has foiled a drug syndicate's attempt to smuggle ketamine with an estimate value of 13.48 million ringgit. The drugs, weighing 245 kilograms, were found hidden in packages containing green beans at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, KLIA, in Sepang last week. Its Director General Datuk Zazuli Johan said a team from its narcotics branch had seized 49 plastic packages containing crystals believed to be ketamine at the KLIA air cargo complex at about 11 p.m. on July 4th. The syndicate's modus operandi was to declare the drugs as haricot vert, while inside the packages were beans mixed with crystal powder. Checks found that the goods were exported from a European country via a Middle Eastern country before landing at KLIA as the final destination. The seizure was the largest case recorded so far this year, and it was understood the drugs were intended for the local market. Datuk Zazuli added until now, no arrests have been made in relation to the case. However, his team was actively conducting investigations to track down the suspects. Meanwhile, a drug processing and trafficking syndicate was crippled after police conducted 5 raids in the Klang Valley and seized 141.4 kilograms of drugs worth 8.07 million ringgit last Friday. Royal Malaysia Police PDRM Secretary Datuk Nursiah Muhammad Saaduddin said 11 individuals aged 22 to 38, comprising 9 local men as well as a foreign male and female, were also arrested during the operation. Now, she added in a statement on Thursday the drugs seizure, which included ketamine, RM65 pills and ecstasy, were enough to cater for more than 500,000 addicts. It was believed that the syndicate had been active since February, and their modus operandi was to use residential premises to process and store drugs before distributing them to the local market, especially around the Klang Valley. Authorities also seized various assets belonging to the syndicate, estimated to be worth 600,000 ringgit, including 8 vehicles, cash and jewelry. Police are also on the hunt for the remaining members of the syndicate. All the suspects have been remanded for a week starting from July 9th. Over in Perak, a 61-year-old man was charged at the Ipoh Magistrates Court with the murder of his brother and sister-in-law early this month. No plea was recorded from Ng Chun Ming when the charge was read to him before Magistrate Jessica Dimas. The accused nodded when asked if he understood the charge. He was charged with murdering his brother, 64-year-old Ng Chun Hon, and his sister-in-law, 59-year-old Oi Tin Lu, at Taman Bercham Aman in Ipoh on July 6th and 7th between 6:45 p.m. and 8:20 a.m. The charge was framed under Section 302 of the Penal Code, which carries the mandatory death sentence upon conviction. The court fixed September 14th for mention. Initial investigations showed that the couple were hit on their heads with a sharp weapon and a blunt object, resulting in severe head wounds. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look at Paris's traditional Bastille Day military parade, which took place at the Champs-Élysées. The parade is a salute to France's Eastern European allies and to war-torn Ukraine after almost 5 months of being invaded by Moscow. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.